kind of that thing. But we're also starting to see a shift in which people are really, I guess, mapping out the way that their careers are going to play out. They're going and utilizing places like the Career Center. They're getting certifications, and they're associates in high school, jumping into the job field and kind of seeing how it plays out and working either their way up internally and getting training paid for by their employer, or possibly, as you pointed out, making a total pivot and going out here and grabbing another set of skills to kind of add on to their marketability. So as you start your company, as you go out here, what does it look like to you, and how are you kind of marketing this?
I would agree with that. I think that it's not just college anymore.
Right.
There are people who want to go right into the work field, and that's okay.
Yes.
I think the biggest piece is exploration, exposure.
Yeah.
Those are two big prongs in Coats Inc. We want to make sure that we're exposing students at a younger age.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in the 12th grade to figure out what you want to do. Actually, that's too late.
Thank you.
So how do we start a little bit earlier in terms of exposing students and allow them to explore what they believe success looks like? It's also having conversations with students to say, what is it that you need?
Right.
Too many times are adults saying, this is what a student needs.
Yeah.
We need to have student voice in place, and I think that's what we've been pushing a lot more, is like really trying to understand from them what they want.
Yeah.
I have a Jumpstart program that is in partnership with 21st Century, and I have a lot of students there. We're always doing surveys.
Yeah.
Even though we're doing programs, what we feel like works, we want to make sure that it's continuing to be something that they're interested in. So we survey them a lot.
Right.
After a lot of the sessions that we do, we have a pre and a post at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, and we constantly ask them, like, hey, what do you think?
Right.
If you don't like this, tell Miss Toney, tell Miss Wilson, who's also my coordinator who does Jumpstart. Let us know what you need.
Yeah.
And let's try to do that. And then I always equate this to my own household. My husband works for the railroad.
Yeah.
He did not go right into the 4-year traditional pathway. I did.
Yes.
We're both very successful.
Right.
I make really good money in my job, and he also makes really good
Yes,
money
he
in
does.
his job.
Yeah.
So again, you don't have to choose what we call the traditional way. It's all about figuring out what someone wants and how do we bring those people together. So making sure that we utilize the community, bring people in who do different career paths to expose them. Not only saying if it is a 4-year school that you want to go to, if it takes 8 years and you want to be a doctor, they need to know early. And I think that brings back the why for students, because a lot of times we're like, you need good grades, you need this. In the 9th grade, it's so important because that's the start of your high school trajectory. Yeah. And it's hard to change.
Now,
or wait to senior year to expose them. So let's start a little earlier.
You're preaching to the choir, because you got my mind going in a lot of different places. I'll try to focus. But I want to ask you, because as I sit and I listen to, you, and I know a number of other people that have this very, very, I guess, modern approach to education, in particular in our communities where we need to go out and expose, as you use the word exposure. I want to ask you, because how do you go out here and kind of reach these communities? Because I would argue and I would suggest that I think one of the things that, and I find myself sometimes in a difficult position, because I absolutely believe, and you grew up, I'm a product, my parents taught in public schools, and I'm definitely down with the public school curriculum, or public schools as an institution. I believe in them, I like them, I see their necessity. However, I do think that they are kind of a little bit sometimes tied down to, they don't have a lot of flexibility. And where they can kind of go out here and kind of pivot and be a little bit more innovative as far as education and opportunities and exposure. So as somebody who is operating in this space, and you talk about the school that you kind of are associated with, that you work with, how do we kind of go out here and kind of convince the establishment in these communities about, kind of looking at the non-traditional methods of going and educating these students? I mean, obviously I'm a homer for my wife, but I think about languages. I think about all kinds of different things that not just people in the Black and brown communities, but I would argue that Americans, when we're competing against people from abroad and places like that, we're way behind when it comes down to these things, because we're just still stuck on this very 1950-ish capitalist education, reading, writing, arithmetic, and we've added a couple of more letters with the STEAM and the STEM, but it's still a little bit behind. So as somebody who moves in these areas, what do you think about that?
I would say that the schools just have to open the doors and say, let's partner. I'm not saying partner with just anybody.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
You have to find out someone who aligns to what your mission and vision is. So when I first pitched the idea to have the Jumpstart program at 21st Century, I really did my research on what they are interested in doing with their students, which is, one, they want to make sure the students are getting their associate degrees when they graduate. But the other piece is we want to expose more students to different career paths and just have an open, broad idea of how we can support our students as they're getting ready to graduate and go through life.
Right.
And so I looked at what they were doing. I looked at the state standards. I looked at what the state is pushing. And then I brought a proposal that looked good. You know, like I said, hey, I'm going to attach what you all need. I'm going to see where areas where I can fill in the void. Because I always say with my services, it's college and career support. It's what you would normally get in a college and career office.
Right.
But we know that it's limited with counselors.
Yes.
They can only do so much.
Yeah.
A lot of times you only have one counselor for over 300 kids or less.
Yes.
So how are they going to have that in-person time that these students really deserve?
Right.
So when you attach yourself, it's really a wraparound support.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider myself a wraparound support services where I'm attaching myself to the mission and vision that the school has, and also having a really strong relationship with the college and career department.
Yeah.
To say, what is your need and how can I fill it?
Now, how do you quantify that? So if I'm over here and I'm listening and I've got an institution, I'm an administrator and I'm listening to this, I guess what I would ask, or what would be in my mind is that, okay, at the end of a period, how do I quantify the data that it's working? Because I absolutely believe in what you're doing, but how would a person be able to kind of say, okay, I do see the improvement? Is it something that I can just use with my eyes, or is there other data that you present at the end?
I would say it's data that you present at the end, but also the conversations you have with students.
Okay.
So also thinking about how many people have been exposed. So again, my program is 9th and 10th graders.
Yeah.
So now I'm talking to students about how to review your transcript,
right.
How to look at your transcript. What is Core 40, which is what they need in order to graduate?
Right.
What does pathways look like? So as long as I know that language and I'm able to talk to them about that, we can ask at the end, like part of my pre and post survey right now is, do you know what a Core 40 is? Do you know who your school counselor is?
Right.
Do you know what a career pathway is? How many credits do you need to end at the end of 9th grade? All of those questions are something that a 9th and 10th grader should know,
right?
But they don't always know. So
right.
You can present that data at the end, then it shows that there is an impact that's been there. You ask them, have you ever been on a college tour? Have you been at a career panel?
Right.
If they're saying no at the beginning, at the end they can say yes. That's showing that we're doing something more in terms of exposing students, because in 9th and 10th grade, you can't really quantify to say, oh, they're going off to college or
right.
they're doing other things.
Yes.
You have to think about what would you like to have a 9th grader know that's going to put them on a path to be successful when they get ready to graduate. And that is exposure. Again, if you started off not being on college tours and not knowing what to expect, not meeting with any career panels or anything like that, not knowing what Core 40 is, not knowing who your counselor is. And I also asked the question, who makes an impact in your college and career plans?
Yeah.
And I put Jumpstart in there.
No,
when I did that research, at the end, I was really proud to see that Jumpstart was on the equivalent of parents.
Yeah, because see that
and schools.
I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that you being in education, and I talk about, as I said, full disclosure, my parents were educators. My dad's a principal, my mom a teacher. So I have a certain empathy towards what goes into it. I never wanted to do it myself because I appreciate just how hard it is. But I do think that, parents are a very pivotal factor in a child's education, and I'm glad you kind of segued. And so when you're out here and you're doing your part, you're providing these opportunities, you're providing these services, you're sitting there talking, you're getting these students, scholars to start to think about things and to start to map out. How do you sometimes convince the parents? Because a lot of times a child might be, while he or she is at school in the building, sitting in front of his counselor or sitting in front of an educator, might be very stimulated by what's being presented to them, but then they kind of get back into their home environment and it just seems like the record stops. It's just, all the air comes out of the balloon. And I would think that in order to keep this thing moving and keep it moving forward, a child needs that three-dimensional aspect of having that parent or that guardian or that family support him or her.
Yeah, so as part of Jumpstart, they have to apply to the program.
Okay.
And their parent has to be a part of that process.
Yeah.
We have a parent meeting at the beginning of the year so they know what's going on. We also have a parent remind. So we have a text message system that we have with students.
Yeah.
And we also have that text message system with parents.
Right.
So at the end of the week or at the end of the quarter, we're letting them know these are the things we've done. At the end of the year, we send a letter home and say, here's all of the events that we've had. Here's all of our presenters that we've had going on. Thank you for having your student be a part of this program. So they are along the way, and they're also invited to any of our college tours that we have.
Yeah.
So they can come on to those college tours as well if they had the time to do it. So we definitely keep the parents completely involved in what we're doing because, again, your parent can change it. I can have a kid and I can say, hey, when you graduate, you're going to this school, they get the financial package together. If the parent is not on board, they are not going.
Right.
So you have to bring the parents along with you in that process.
No, I like that. As you said, this is an application process, and the parents are very much a part of that from the very jump. So you let them know what's on. I like that. That is I think that's the healthy approach. Hopefully, we can start to expand that attitude into, you know, the big picture. Of course, we're talking about your wonderful company, Coats Incorporated. Just give us a little background. How did you get into this?
So I've been doing college and career for a really long time, just education in general.
Were you start off as a teacher?
Actually, no. I started off with the Indiana Commission for Higher Education.
Oh, okay.
So I worked on the higher education level for about 7 years before I moved back home to Gary. I got married to my husband, so he told me I had to come home.
Exactly. That's usually part of the deal.
Bring it on.
And so when I came home, that's when I got into counseling. And so I did about 8 years college and career counseling at 2 charter schools here in Gary, Indiana. And in 2020, with 2020 going on, there was just a lot more that I was like, I want to not just be tied to one school.
Right.
I want to see how I can support a community.
Right. Pandemic, right?
Yep.
Well, I know
so that pandemic just had you pivot to see what can you do. Like, what can I do now? I just think it put the more entrepreneurship spirit into my mind. And so Coats Inc. was created. Coats stands for creating opportunities for all to excel successfully.
Yeah.
It's actually my maiden name.
Okay.
So I kind of was like, how do I continue this legacy on and continue to do some work? And my idea was that as a past counselor, it was hard to do all the things that you wanted to do. You were kind of tied down with making sure students, pass their classes and have some type of plan when they graduate, but all those creative and innovative things you wanted to do kind of got put to the side.
Right.
I didn't want to put that stuff to the side anymore. I'm like, now I can just go attach myself to a school. The counselor will still do their wonderful job that they're doing. And then all of those innovative things and all those extra things they want to do, I can attach myself and do that. And support them along the way and do that at multiple schools in different areas. And in 2020, I did my first college and career conference. Because again, 2020, that was my last year of seniors. And we were not able to do everything we wanted to do with them because of COVID. Everything happened in the middle of the year. And I said, I'm going to do a summer milk conference. Like, how do I do something that can help them transition to college? And I did that at the Railcat Stadium with a really small budget. I applied for my first grant. I got my nonprofit paperwork in March of 2020. And I started going and applying in May and June for grants, and I got my first grant, and I was able to do that in July. And so I had about 100 students and families come in person. This was in person in COVID. We had our masks on and everything. And I was able to help them finish out their plans, like complete their FAFSA, talk about their financial packages. For some students who didn't finish what they needed, I had Ivy Tech come in and talk to them about transitioning into their 2-year program. We talked about like unpacking your mindsets. Like we had a therapist come and just kind of talk about mindsets and shifts as they're getting ready to transition to college. I just really thought deeply about what my students would have needed. And how could we support them? Then we gave away like free gifts and things like that for students, like off to college bags with little knickknacks, little wall plugs over the door hangers, those little knickknacks.
Ramen noodles.
Well, not the ramen noodles, but all those essentials. And that was kind of like the streamboard to me doing more. Then I applied for a learning loss grant. And I was able to partner with 21st Century and get in there and do the Jumpstart program. And I'm just continuously trying to be innovative. And now, Saturday, I'll be doing a ribbon cutting for my mobile college and career office. So now I'm taking college and career on the road. So
now, what does that look like?
Well, I talk a lot about meeting students where they are. And so this mobile college and career bus is going to be essentially, when you walk on, it is a college and career office on wheels. We have Wi-Fi. We have presentation capabilities, so we can bring colleges and other presenters to talk about their careers on this bus. And we can ride along to a school, to Boys and Girls Club. Anywhere that we have youth. I can pull up to the park if I need to. I can let people come on and just pull up and get your college and career support. Again, I always say it's not just high school students. There are young adults, because I have a lot of students who've graduated who've reached out to me and was like, hey, can I get help with looking for a job?
What about adults?
Adults, anyone who's thinking about college and career support that we can help you on, we are there available. I'll have one teacher on the bus when school starts to be able to help with like academics and tutoring, and then I'll always have a college and career coordinator on the bus that can help with college and career planning.
Wow, this is amazing. Who's driving that bus, by the way?
Well, I'm driving it right now.
Now, is it decorated and all that kind of stuff?
It is decorated. We have college pennants. When you walk in, you feel very comfortable, very college and career related.
Talk about you being here. You're here. You came to the West Side.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So I came to Westside, what was that, about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
At their enrollment fair.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was out front. The principals and the administrators were able to come out and see families, and students were able to come on the bus and kind of get a look at what is to be shared and to happen out throughout this year. And we already have about 8 stops that we're going to be at.
So just riding around the region.
Just riding around at all the back to school fests. You go to our website, coachinc.org. You can check out the mobile college and career office stops.
Yeah.
And you can come and meet us where we are. But our ribbon cutting is this Saturday at the Boys and Girls Club out here in Gary.
Exactly.
And it'll be starting from ribbon cutting is at 11:45.
Right.
But the event is from 10 until about 5. So come out and also participate in that event. And come and check the bus out.
Yeah, that's my dude out there, Kim Patrick Barry.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty cool. Once again, give me that time again at the Girls and Boys Club in
Greater
Northwest Indiana.
Yes, the actual ribbon cutting is 11:45, but their event starts at 10.
Yeah.
So come out, participate in the Boys and Girls event. Also come and check out our mobile college and career office at our ribbon cutting.
Now, if there are entities, because we got a lot of people, I got some of my guys that are listening from other school districts in the region. They're not necessarily in the city, and they're out here listening to this. How do they contact you? I mean, how does the process go about scheduling an appearance by the career tour bus?
So all you have to do is go to our website, again, coachinc.org.
Right.
And come onto that website. When you go to the mobile college and career office page, there is a section that says, I want you all to come to our location.
Right.
They fill out a very quick form, probably takes less than 5 minutes.
Right.
And then we will reach out to you, and if the schedule allows, we will come out.
Yeah.
But our schedule and books are open, so we would love to come. It's not just tied to only Gary area, it's Northwest Indiana.
Exactly.
So we will come out to any schools or organizations that are supporting you.
All right. Well, I'm telling you, this is kind of amazing. I like what I'm hearing, and I think you're doing some very, very positive and important stuff. And I love the bus. I really do.
Much.
So I've got to get on that bus sooner or later.
And I'll
Did you drive the bus here?
I didn't drive the bus here. But I will say this, that we are always open to having people come and share information, and we're going to do what I'm calling ride-alongs.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about your career path with students after school or any of our events that we have coming up, you can. Colleges are able to come and do presentations. We also have a really great resource library of all college and career information.
On the bus?
On the bus.
Oh, my goodness.
So you got to come check it out so you can see, because I tell people college and career mobile office, and they're like, oh, okay. But when they get on, they're like, oh.
Exactly, because all I'm doing now, I'm so distracted from what you're saying. I just want to get on that bus.
When you come in, you have bench seating, so it's very comfortable. We got pillows, so it makes you look like, it reminds me of a dorm room.
Oh, on a bus, on 4 wheels.
But you got access to computers, Wi-Fi, the TV.
Yeah.
So it's a chance for not only students to get college and career support, but when they come on after school, we'll have snacks. It's a decompress time. And I'm also talking to therapists about doing social emotional learning, talking about stress, because young people are also stressed as well, and they need to unpack their feelings and their thoughts. So not only is it just college and career supports, but there's going to be a lot of other things. So again, any community organizations who want to talk to me about seeing how we can partner and how they can ride along with me and support any youth or young people or adults in the community, I am here and open to partner. It's not just a coaching thing, it's a community thing. Mm-hmm. I just happen to be riding around on the wheels. So come on and ride along with me whenever you're ready.
We appreciate that. Of course, Ms. Catisha Toney, right, of Coach Incorporated. And like I said, education, equity, success, that's what your shirt says.
Yep.
And your career as well as an education. I just think what you're doing is awesome. I'm telling you, I'm a little distracted and flustered by that bus because I was hoping it was outside. But we're going to work on that. I'm going to make that bus ride happen.
So come see us on Saturday.
I will see you on Saturday.
We'll be open the doors to it. You'll be able to see everything. Anyone who's listening who's just as intrigued as you are, come and check the bus out on Saturday. You're
going to be making your tours to all these back-to-school things that are going around. You're going to be pretty busy the next couple of weeks, aren't you?
I am.
All right. We appreciate you stopping by. All jokes aside, like I said, I am going to see that bus though, but that's a whole nother show. Once again, we want to thank Ms. Catisha Toney for coming in today. It's always a pleasure, and we wish her luck as well. Make sure you go check it out Saturday starting at 12 over at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Northwest Indiana, located over there by Tolliston. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll get our first